Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the world's fastest half mile. This is Bristol Motor Speedway, playing host to race number 14 of the G-Force Sim Racing Hijinx Clothing Company 87 Series. 200 laps under the lights here at the last great Coliseum. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Samuel Dyer. And Sam, a lot of different terms are used when we come to a track like this. The bump and run, PJ1 for grip, slamming and banging, but I think the one word that we're all thinking about here, just based on what we saw in practice with these drivers, survival.
Yeah, survival for sure. This is going to be more of a destruction derby type of event of who will be the last car to survive. Based off what these drivers' reactions have been, this setup has been loose at times, tight at times. It has been really unknown of what your car is going to do entering every single corner. And really, during practice, you even stated this before the broadcast of usually when we watch the drivers during practice, they're pushing their cars to the limit. So we understand why they're wrecking. During practice here today, it was a lot of drivers hesitating and really just trying to survive this racetrack and kind of failing at it. This is going to be a very tough track for these drivers. I think if anything, this might be the hardest race for the whole entire season as a whole. And we've been seeing drivers slipping and sliding all season long.
And we've also seen some pretty hard hits here in practice, and these drivers here tonight, 200 laps, and only one fast repair at their disposal if they run into trouble.
Yeah, that means we're going to probably be seeing a lot of drivers utilizing those fast repairs. It's going to be a very narrow and close quarter racing, so one wreck could honestly... usually another track would just take out one driver. This could take out the whole entire field if we see the right wreck up front.
Hank Steinmiller on the point. Tyler Riggs lines up to his outside. Notice that the both of them sporting the pink here tonight. We want to thank G-Force Racing for helping us out here tonight. Of course, the Flatout Racing Network sporting the pink as well with our ticker and everything, as we've got a fundraiser for the Breast Cancer Awareness Foundation, and all the proceeds for the entries for tonight's race, courtesy of G-Force Racing Series, going to our fundraiser. So we appreciate that, and a lot of drivers sporting the pink here tonight for breast cancer awareness.
And it's a great cause overall. 200 laps here at the last great Coliseum of Bristol. Hank Steinmiller going to lead the way. Pace car is off, and we are green here for 200 laps.
We'll have to see who's going to be able to survive of the 16 drivers taking the green flag here tonight. Steinmiller going to get away for the moment, leaves them to battle for second. Rocky Boyd's going to take that spot as they'll get single file at least for the top four. Battle is on for fifth.
Yeah, fifth place side by side. You're going to find yourself with Whitendorf and Hound Shell still side by side, which is kind of nerve-wracking to see, as during practice it looked like it was the car on the inside that would get loose most of the time and dump out. Drivers that started in the back are trying to move forward. That's going to be Dallas Myhan, Christopher Morse Jr., and Jeff Green. They started in the back, and they're starting to move forward now. As a car that actually got low and having issues at the moment, that looks like that's going to be Kazi.
Not sure if he ran into trouble or if this is strategy of just falling to the back and waiting until things settle out. But he is going to drop all the way back to the last car in the field. And that's one problem, too, for some of these drivers that want to adapt that type of strategy, fall to the back. This is a short track, so it's not going to take a whole lot of time for the leader to maybe reel you in and put you a lap down under green flag conditions.
Oh, boy, this battle here for seventh place is looking chaotic. Koking goes around, more contact, our first yellow of the day.
Jeff Green was up and into the wall. Little contact to the front of the 07 of Seth Harrelson as well. Looks like maybe, just maybe, Koking was the only one to go around in that incident. I think we could safely say, if that's the case, we dodged a bullet with that wreck taking place right in the center of the corner.
Yeah, and Jeff Green got a little bit of a bump there on his nose. I think the car, besides Koking, that got contact there that I'm kind of nervous about is the 5 of Schaefer, who that just kind of wall righted and was just into the outside wall there while trying to get by the 11. And that could be some damage that hurts the 5 on the long run here.
So Randy Koking got loose there off the corner. That kind of hurt his entry into the next turn, and that back end just snapped around. You saw those other drivers there get some damage as well. Jeff Green, Eric Schaefer, Seth Harrelson amongst those. Maybe a little contact as well for the 41 of Dallas Myhan, but have to say that based on what we saw in practice, really shocked we saw as minimal contact between drivers as we just did.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the safest caution we have really seen so far here today. And I really thought there could have been a lot more damage there. Luckily, there was not.
Obviously, here tonight, we've already talked about the faster pair. We've also been told that these drivers only going to have to come to pit road one time, somewhere between about 150, 160 laps. They can make it on a tank of fuel. So even if we end up getting somewhere to lap 50, lap 60 with a caution, these drivers could come to pit road and make it the rest of the way. Tires are also unlimited, and based on the way these drivers are having to take these corners, those tires will be wearing quite a bit. So if we do go into a long green flag run, these drivers, they will be screaming for new Goodyears.
Yeah, and honestly, when listening to the drivers over practice, it sounded like after about 5 to 7 laps, those tires were already feeling it and just kind of dropped off from there. Only car that is coming into the pits this time, though, is going to be the 3, it looked like. As he actually just drove through the pits and did not come in, losing all of this time, and will be dropping to the back.
That could be strategy, much like we saw Joseph Causey falling to the back there under green flag conditions. Looks like Christopher Morris Jr. just passing through pit road so that he will be EOLing himself and being back, hopefully, in his case, out of trouble. Of course, Christopher Morris Jr. Last week, and he ended up finishing very well at Watkins Glen. A number of the drivers that were trying to reel him in for the points lead, Dallas Myhead and Jake Hounshell, running into issues. So we're on race 14 of 16. 3 races remain, including tonight. Christopher Morris Jr. trying to do everything he can, using every trick in the book to preserve his points lead to win that championship in a couple weeks in Atlanta.
Yeah, I want to give an update on what happened to Joseph Causey for him to be a lap down before that caution came out. He actually started on pit road while the other drivers were gridded up and going around. So that's why the 46 was running so slow and why it looked like it was odd for him being back so far.
So when we go back green, Hank Steinmiller will be the leader. Rocky Boyd in second. Tyler Riggs, who started outside of the front row, drifted back to third. Gerald Campbell and Jake Hounshell going to make up the top 5. And it's really difficult here tonight. You know, a lot of tracks we go to and we're able to see drivers that are up at the top of the board, our top 3, top 5, and we say, you know what, this looks like someone that might be the car to beat. Here tonight, as you said, it's almost kind of like a 200-lap game of Russian roulette. You don't know who's going to still have a race car in running condition by the time we get to the checkered flag, so it's difficult to be able to pick out a potential winner in this field.
Yeah, I mean, even our leader at the moment of Hank Steinmiller, during practice, he looked like he was not feeling comfortable, nor did Rocky Boyd. So not even our front runners are safe from how loose these cars are. Pace car is off, and we go green once again, coming to the start of lap 11.
Hank Steinmiller going to pull low there, coming to the start-finish line, making sure Rocky Boyd can't make a move. That is a rule that is here in the G4 Sim Racing Series, where after the start-finish line, you can duck down to the inside, and that's what Campbell is doing here on Tyler Riggs, trying to take the 3rd position.
Car in the back already getting loose onto the apron, it looks like. That might have been Seth Harrelson. It was the 07, able to save that machine, not bringing out a yellow flag, as we move back up for the battle there for 4th place.
And one thing that we've also been told here as well is these drivers want... Oh, Tyler Riggs! What a save as that car was...
Schaefer goes around to the 5. He's able to save it. I mean, these drivers, lap after lap, we're probably going to be saying someone's name out of the corner who gets loose. Is amazing saves by the 26 and the 5 there.
But one thing we were told is these drivers do not want to go up there and utilize the outside wall as maybe a little bit of a saving grace for them through the center of the corner.
Oh, no, Lucky Boyd! He's going to be able to save it. Was trying to make a pass on into turn number 1. Gets loose through 1 and 2. Able to save it. It's dropped back to 4th place.
That'll move Campbell up to 2nd and Hounshell in 3rd. But if they get up into the wall and they hit
Schaefer
the rear of that
again.
car...
That's going to be ringing out the yellow.
I got to talk faster here, man. I'm not getting my points out here. These guys are taking away my points.
It's so hard. I mean, every corner someone's spinning. I think we can only talk about our main points during caution flags. I think
you might be right. We'll save the points for the caution. We'll cover the action under green. Man, Eric Schaefer, 2nd caution of the evening here. Pretty extensive contact to the left front and left rear of that Levi Garrett Chevrolet.
Yeah, and we were only going around. That was going to be our 5th lap since we went green again, and Schaefer went around, it looked like 2-3 times during, that was only 5 laps. So I talked about him hitting the wall and that damage that he might be getting. With getting, these cars are very aerodynamically needed to have here at Bristol, just because of how loose you are. You need every hint of really of grip, and right now it is looking like a struggle if you get any type of damage.
And we've gone 17 laps here into the race, and we've already got a number of drivers that are coming down pit road to get fresh tires. Tyler Riggs, Gerald Campbell, John Whitendorf, Jake Hounshaw. These were drivers that were up inside of the top 7.
Yeah, I'm doing a quick look to see if anyone's deciding to take a quick repair. I'm expecting no one to do so out of this front group, just because of how needed the fast repair is. We will continue to keep you updated on who still has fast repairs and who doesn't.
I'll tell you one driver that was very lucky not to be having to use a fast repair, and that's Christopher Morris Jr., because when we looked back at that replay and watched the spin that Eric Schaefer had, remember Christopher Morris Jr. had taken a self-EOL under the first caution, and he was back there and was just barely able to turn his car down to the inside, avoiding the 5 of Eric Schaefer. So that call to start towards the back of the pack almost did not work out in his favor.
Yeah, speaking of another driver that started back to back, did not qualify. That's going to be the 41 of Dallas Myhan. He didn't qualify up to 3rd, as well as the 16 started back in 14th and up to 4th.
Myhan, former winner this season. Anthony Guarneri still looking for his first win of the season in that 16 machine. And, you know, we talked about pre-broadcast drivers that really hadn't turned an awful lot of practice laps. Seth Harrelson, who got a little bit of damage from both of the wrecks we've had so far here, both of the spins. He ended up getting into the back of Eric Schaefer just moments ago, and then he got into the back of Randy Koken when he went around, but right now in that 5th position. So it's kind of surprising, because you would think, based on the struggles we saw these drivers have, that you'd want to have as many laps turned here in practice as possible, but Harrelson, at least for the moment, he's surviving.
Yeah, I mean, some drivers are able to come in and be it when practice starts and just be logging laps, trying to understand the setup in the car and the way it's going to feel. Other drivers, I mean, we all have our own lives that are going on right now, and sometimes they just don't have the time. I know that's probably what happened with Harrelson. We know that's what happened to Tyler Riggs, who we saw only got about 5 minutes of practice, really. As the pace car pulls off, it's going to be Hank Steinmiller still up front, still doing well, and we'll see how much longer this 63 machine can stay up front as we're green once again.
First 10th of this race is in the books, as the battle's going to be for 3rd. Guarneri gets a run to the left rear quarter panel of Dallas Myhan, heading into turn 3. He'll keep it down there on the bottom. Looks like he's going to hook the bottom pretty well, but it got awfully loose there off of 4.
It was looking good until about halfway through 3 and 4, and then into the back end started to shift out, had to back out of it, and still running in 4th, but looking like he's going to be dropping back to Seth Harrelson.
And this is what we're talking about with the loose conditions these drivers are dealing with, because if you look back at our 2 previous cautions, when we had Randy Koken go around, he entered into the corner on the inside line. When Schaefer went around, he entered into the corner on the outside line. So neither line is giving these drivers much grip to work with, especially on corner entry.
No, it's a lot of cross your fingers and hope it sticks type of driving that we're dealing with here today. As right now, up front, Hank Steinmiller still just barely ahead, as all that contact back there for 4th place. Seth Harrelson had a little bit of a bump from the 16 machine as they're running well. Looks like a car that's moving up front, that is moving head, as, oh, goodness gracious, Harrelson up into the wall. That's going to be 31 of Gerald Campbell that's moving through the field quite well.
Shane Lake was able to get by as well, as Harrelson brushes the wall again there through 3 and 4. I'm sorry, that's 1 and 2. Here comes Christopher Morse Jr. Harrelson, who was
yellow
up
in the back.
5th. And that's Todd Eldridge.
And Schaefer
as well.
I believe that possibly started with Schaefer getting loose, and it did self-spin into 1 and 2, and was just he came back onto the track, actually, and Todd Eldridge had nowhere to go.
And we're going to have to look back at the replay. You could probably tell me it looked like engine smoke coming out from underneath that 96, and that says more than likely only 25 laps in, Todd Eldridge might have to use that fast repair.
Yeah, and Todd Eldridge had really nowhere to go in that moment, as I believe that might have been also engine damage for the 5 possibly as well, but Eldridge had been doing the right move, staying in the back. Don't get yourself in any trouble, and caution out for himself. You hate to see that type of a wreck happen for that type of driver.
Absolutely. As Todd Eldridge and Eric Schaefer both teleported their race cars back to pit road. Looks like for the moment, they're going to try and see how much of the car, how much it can be repaired manually without using that fast repair. But that puts you into a bit of a pickle here, too, with the fact that we're at Bristol. This track is only a half mile in length. The amount of time you spend on pit road, you're going to lose multiple laps here. And with, as short as this track is, Yeah, we may get a number of cautions, but I don't know if you're going to get enough to be able to get enough lucky dogs to get back in the lead lap.
Yeah, in this league, you cannot, it is in the 87 rule set with a little bit of a modification with having drop races and also having the lucky dog being implemented. So lucky dog is the only way to get your lap back. And it's going to be tough with the more and more cautions we're going to have to deal with. More cars will become a lap down. It's already 2 laps and 3 laps down for Schaefer, 2 laps for Eldridge, as both of them are going to be in the pits for about another 30 seconds, excuse me, as the tow is very long because where they wrecked out was right at the exit of pit road.
And you would think that, maybe, just maybe, the pace speed would be back down enough that they wouldn't lose that many laps, but these drivers pacing about 40 to 45 miles per hour behind that pace car, so it doesn't take long. I mean, even under caution, it takes them about 3/4 of a minute to be able to complete 1 lap. So, yeah, those 2 drivers, Todd Eldridge, Eric Schaefer, I know that they didn't want to use the fast repair this early on, but at the same time, their chances of a decent finish here tonight might be going out the window. But then again, we're still 170 laps away from this race being concluded. A lot of drivers may be DNFing before that time.
Chase car is off. Hank Steinmiller leads the way again as we are green. Car dropping to the inside and dropping back quick is going to be Lake, who did not get a good restart and started back up in 5th place, now all the way back to 9th.
That's Tyler Riggs going to go around him in the 26. John Whitendorf trying to do the same in the 33. Is up at the front. We've got a battle. That's side by side for the 4th position. Guarneri, Campbell, Christopher Morse Jr. all in this mix.
Also up front in battle for the lead as Rocky Boyd is figuring out how to make that outside line work a little bit here. As Gerald Campbell going to be pushing up just a little bit as that battle behind.
Oh, the 3!
Oh gosh.
I think he saved it. Christopher Morse Jr. Boy, that's such a scary thing to see coming off of corner exit 2 because, there's not a whole lot of room for error. You slide that car around too much, that inside wall is going to meet you quickly. And look at Boyd, power move around the outside for the top position.
Yeah, that was a little bit of assistance from the 5 of Schaefer that came back onto track. Kind of woed everyone up and gave an opening as it looks like Steinmiller kind of got loose as Boyd gets into the wall. We'll see if the exit speed, oh my goodness, that exit speed. I think you found that one sweet spot. If you bounce off the wall, it helps you a little bit as that looks like that 25 machine is cruising. But here comes Gerald Campbell as well as Dallas Myhan.
Gerald Campbell seems like he's shot out of a cannon because he has been slicing and dicing his way through the field, and now he's making it a 3-man fight for the lead. But the question is, where does he go? Looks like he'll go to the top side.
Oh, Rocky Boyd!
And everyone avoids him somehow.
We stay green somehow out of all of that. 16 had to back up, and somehow Steinmiller did not get spun around. That was a wild save after getting contact by the 25 there. As now Gerald Campbell, after all that fiasco, he's now leading the way.
Rocky Boyd killing a couple of commitment cones, but keeps his hopes of at least finishing this race alive as Campbell to the point. Steinmiller now in 2nd. Best battle right now is going on in the middle of the pack. That's Seth Harrelson, Anthony Guarneri, John Whitendorf. They're all really racing hard here. Joseph Causey up ahead as well. Oh, I thought we might be looking 3 wide for a brief moment there, coming off of turn 2.
Yeah, Causey got extremely loose out of 4 of that last lap, and it just continued to fall back for himself as now they're all getting single filed up after that wad. But if you have to move up to battle for 4th place, as there's almost 3 wide action for 3rd.
Tyler Riggs, Dallas Myhand, and Jeff Green battling it out there. Looks like Myhand was trying to take a page out of Rocky Boyd's book as he was up there just almost skidding the wall through the corner. Still battling. Oh, too high and...
Saves it.
Oh my God.
Oh, those water barrels have been having a great view of all these drivers getting loose out of 2. And man, one wrong move, you could see your day going up in smoke as they continue to run on. Gerald Campbell still leading the way with over a half a second gap lead over Hank Steinmiller and everyone else riding on everyone's coattails.
Riggs in 3rd, Jeff Green in 4th. Best battle right now is back around the 7th position. That's where Joseph Causey's trying to reel in Anthony Guarneri. And I've seen, horror gamers on YouTube. They have like those pulse rate things where you can see what the pulse rate is. I would hate to see what our pulse rates are every time we see a car slideways off the corner.
I mean, this is almost as bad as the first race of the season at Daytona. I mean, these cars are slipping and sliding everywhere. And this is short track racing where one wrong move should be ruining your day. But due to the fact that there are fast repairs and these drivers are just doing a great job as, oh no, spinning around is Tyler Riggs now. It's 3rd caution of the day.
And that is going to bring out the yellow as Riggs was able, fortunately, to have it spin down to the inside. I don't think anyone hit him, and I don't think he necessarily hit anything. That car still looks okay.
Yeah, he didn't hit anything, but we have to move up. No, Gerald Campbell slowed up, and I think there might have been contact. Oh, more contact possibly for the back of the field as they all just came to a complete stop, waiting for the pace car to show up. And it might have costed Jeff Green and Steinmiller here as they both almost made contact actually coming into the pits.
Here's where Riggs goes around, locks up the brakes. It's exactly what you have to do when that car is spinning to make sure it doesn't go down to that inside wall. And actually, when you hit the brakes too, sometimes the car has an uncanny knack of turning back the correct direction. I think that's what happened there with the 26.
Yeah, it was just a little bit of nerve-wracking racing there for those drivers as re-looking at the drivers that are going to be using their fast repairs. So far, they've already used it. It's going to be the 5 and the 96. Both have used their fast repairs this race. Now, if they get any more damage, they're going to have to manually repair it.
So we just looked as well at that incident you were talking about with Steinmiller and Jeff Green trying to come to pit road. I don't think the two made contact. The one thing I would be concerned about, though, there is a commitment cone that drivers have to hit when they're coming to pit lane, and it looked like Steinmiller made a very late turn to pit lane and went around the right side of that commitment cone. So I'm not certain if that would be a penalty on the 63 or not.
That's going to be an admin call move for that incident there for those drivers, but for now I think they are okay. But the admins will have to throw a EOL if they deem that as an illegal move.
So Seth Harrelson deciding to stay out, and it's looking like he's actually going to decide to stay out for the entirety of these caution laps. Looks like he will be the one that will get us back under green once the lights go out atop the pace car. Gerald Campbell, who was just on pit road, will line up in second with Jeff Green, Jake Hounshell, and Tyler Riggs, the rest of the top five. And Hank Steinmiller is now...
He's been
dropping.
dinged. Yeah, he's been dinged to drop all the way to the end of the field. So that might be that issue of him coming in after that cone. And that might be the issue that's being given to him, an EOL for the 63, it looks like.
Yeah, I think that Steinmiller and Green were both so concentrated on waiting for the pace car to catch up to them that they didn't realize that pit road was open. Green was fortunately able to get down there to the commitment line, to the left side of the commitment cone. Hank Steinmiller realizing it before, a little too late, and just couldn't get down there quickly enough to be able to be on the left side of that commitment cone as well. So a costly error for Hank Steinmiller, who all night long has not dropped out of the top three. Now he's going to get his first experience of having to cut his way through traffic.
Yeah, and we've seen drivers do that so far. I mean, Jeff Green had to cut through all the way through when he started in the back of the field. Jeff Green actually started back in 13th place at the start of this race, now up to third. So this 10 car's done a great job cutting through. It is possible. It's just a lot of hard work and kind of luck that you don't get hit by anyone. I mean, we're coming up to a quarter of the way through this race, Seth, and I got to say I'm impressed. We've only had 3 cautions when I thought we probably would have been seeing more, as now we've got Seth Harrelson and Gerald Campbell battling it out for the lead.
Campbell wasn't quite sure what to do there, was waiting to see if the 07 would get going. Now he'll get a run to the inside, about 17 lap fresher tires on the 31. You can see through the center of the corner just how important they are.
Yeah, and this is going to be very difficult for Seth Harrelson because the battle between the fresh tires and new, it's going to hurt that 07. Just because of the speed you can carry, it's going to clog them up like we're seeing right now as they're all wadded up here, almost 3-wide action. And this is a kind of a terrifying moment to see for these drivers. Because of the older tires, it wants to really snap on you way easier than the cars that have fresher ones.
Riding on board here with Dallas Myhand as, now Seth Harrelson disappearing and reappearing. That makes it even worse that a car with slower pace and the older tires is blinking in and out in front of you.
Troubles for the 5 of Eric Schaefer, who continues to have woes in the pits trying to get damage repairs and now has parked it for the day. Oh my goodness.
What a save.
Woo, Seth Harrelson. I don't know how you saved that, as he's still not feeling too comfortable as he almost comes up into more drivers.
Almost got Shane Lake there, and there's the 3 of Christopher Morse Jr. trying to get around him. Rocky Boyd trying to do the same.
Oh no, pinball move.
Oh no, he's going to get hit in the wall. Gets into Randy.
Oh, more contact.
And Christopher Morse Jr. should be a caution, I would think.
Yep.
Nothing yet, and there it is.
Caution's out.
And Jeff Green was starting to put some pressure on Gerald Campbell for the race lead there at the time.
Oh, I thought for a second, I thought we saw a puff of smoke for Kazi that might have blown an engine there, but still looking okay. A lot of front end damage for Coking, though, for the 11. And Seth Harlson, that machine is also junked up. I think this might be the caution that we might be seeing a lot more of fast repairs being utilized. We'll have to wait and see, though, once they come into the pits.
Well, Seth Harlson on those older tires was in such a tough situation there coming off of turn 2. He had a car to the inside of Rocky Boyd, a car to the outside in Christopher Morse Jr., and you saw all the way through that corner the back end wanted to come around, so he's trying to figure out, how do I keep this car underneath me and at the same time hold my line so that way these guys can make their way around me safely?
Yeah, it's so difficult when you got a lot of machines that are running same race pace. You get off sequence, and once you're trying to come back onto the racing surface, your car doesn't feel stable anymore. You still have the slight contact where you've lost a lot of downforce, so your car just wants to snap already, and just more and more gets tacked onto your issues. And there you see there, contact made, and drivers now having to come in the pits and get damage repairs.
I watched back here on the replay what you were talking about, that smoke from the 46, and while you're right, he was able to continue on, I did see a little bit of the dark gray smoke there, so definitely with hitting with the front end is going to affect his car, but it looked like he is going to take a fast repair. He's going to just get it repaired as best as possible here manually.
Yeah, it looked like, yes, there was contact made, but it wasn't an engine blown smoke that we saw there. It was just contact and him sliding his tires. That is where we saw that dark gray smoke, which usually is the sign of an engine that is gone. But so far, looking good for the 46 to continue running on. But heavy damage, which usually when we're talking about the current stock cars, if you see heavy damage at Bristol, you can run still pretty well because the spoiler is still usable. It's a lot bigger, but because of these 87 machines, the spoiler being so small and not a lot of downforce, when you have back end damage at all, it really hinders your car from running well and makes you even more looser than you were when you started out.
Talked about the struggles Eric Schaefer has had here tonight. He has taken his car to the garage, so he will finish 16th here tonight. We've got 13 cars that are currently on the lead lap. Randy Coking, who was involved in that last caution, he is 1 lap down, and 14th Todd Eldridge right now 6 laps down in the 15th position. I want to take this opportunity to thank tonight's sponsor, Smartway Remodeling. You can check them out on Facebook at Smartway Remodeling and More LLC, a business that is owned by one of the drivers in the field here tonight, Randy Coking. So appreciate them sponsoring tonight's event at Bristol.
Yeah, it's always an honor to have the drivers sponsoring these races with the companies that they work for or own. It's always incredible the fact that they are willing to support the leagues that they run in. As Joseph Kazi and it looks like Christopher Morse Jr. are able to get repairs and get their cars packed down with fuel and new tires, and they're back going green here and able to stay on the lead lap.
Now, right now, I think that for a lot of these drivers, we've seen them sustain some damage in the spins and wrecks they've been involved in. I think right now, if you're looking to use that fast repair later on in this race, your goal right now is if you wreck, do not do anything that is going to hurt that engine, because then that means you have no choice but to get a fast repair. You don't have to have the prettiest car out here at Bristol to at least be somewhat running up to speed.
Yeah, as long as the engine works at full power, you are good to go. Pace car is off. And it's going to be Gerald Campbell leading the way with Jeff Green behind him in the 10.
Well, Jeff Green was putting pressure on Campbell just before that last caution came out. We'll see what he's able to do here on this restart as the two of them separated by about half a car length going into turn 2. Campbell likes that outside line. Green likes to drive it in deep and ride it up in the center of the corner.
And as they're all staying single filed up, they're getting wadded up in the middle of the field as I thought there was going to be a wreck where Steinmiller and the 16 car were. But able to continue on, still side-by-side racing action here is now Jeff Green thinking about getting his nose under the 31 machine.
Saw right there, Guarneri kind of pinching Hank Steinmiller down. Now, that is a classic thing to do at Bristol, but with the fact these drivers are having such difficulty going through these corners, not sure you really want to do that here with this type of setup.
No, it's a little nerve-wracking for all drivers involved in this. So they're all still running well, staying close and battling hard. As up front, Jeff Green inching closer and closer. Dallas Myhan getting loose though on the outside, almost getting to Steinmiller. As well in front of them, you've got Tyler Riggs trying to hold off Jake Hounshell.
And Guarneri had a moment back there. He just dropped from 7th back to 9th place as the battle for 3rd place has been settled out. Tyler Riggs has taken the spot, but Houndshell battling back on the inside. Jeff Green with a big run there out of 2, still trying to take the lead from Campbell.
Yeah, you're starting to see different drivers running different type of styles through the corners. You got the drivers that are deciding to try to go, oh, caution to the back, as that is going to be Lake, who spins it on the front stretch after getting loose out of 4.
Down to the inside wall, made pretty good contact with the right rear of his machine. 6th caution of the night. And it gives us a little bit of an opportunity here as we look back at the replay to kind of touch on the point you were talking about just there with the fact that, yeah, these drivers, they kind of have to search around because if you're Gerald Campbell, you get to pick the line you want going into the corner. If you're Jeff Green, you got to try something different because you obviously can't run the same line the 31s run if you're going to try and pass them.
Yeah, there's the different styles of entering high and just kind of doing a sweeping corner of staying on the middle inside and then running out. Then there's the diamond corners where you dig as hard as you can into the corner, hit the apex at the highest point of the track, and then dive down using the momentum of having the gravity pulling you down with the banking that you have in the corner and just trying to pull your car with as much momentum down the straightaway. But you do lose time on entry in the middle. It's your exit where you have all that speed to work with as everyone coming into the pits except for Campbell and Steinmiller.
We'll see how that's going to work out for them. I would be a little bit worried because we saw what happened when Carlson stayed out on older tires. I mean, Jared Campbell and Hank Steinmiller, they've obviously shown that they have the pace up there at the front. This is going to be a good idea for us up here, at least in the booth, of figuring out, how important tires really are going to be.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between Harlson and what the drivers are seeing now, I think Harlson and Campbell are the closest of where they were at tire-wise, as Steinmiller he's been out there for only about 11 laps, possibly 10 laps of just green flag racing, so not as much wear and tear on Steinmiller's tires as much as Campbell's does, that he's been out there for 22 laps.
Well, the other difference, too, when Harlson was out in front, we clearly could see rear-end damage, and we've been documenting already tonight that you need to really keep your rear preserved, so that way that spoiler's up in the air, catching as much air for as much downforce as possible. You look at the 31 and the 63 up here, no damage to either one of those drivers, so they still have that downforce, what little there is.
Yeah, they're going to be trying to do their best to hold off everyone. I think the real goal is to hope to stay at least in the top 5 here on this restart compared to the fresher tires, as they're going to have a major advantage over our leaders. And leading that charge is actually going to be a driver that only went for fuel. That's going to be Causey in the 46 machine that was only in there for a quick second. And then Jeff Green behind him is the first car with 4 fresh tires running in 4th place.
I want to get a good look here. We might have to go and check. I think that 46, yes, I'm pretty certain that 46 has used his fast repair because that front end looks a lot better than it did about 5 laps ago.
Yeah, the fast repair was utilized for Causey there. That machine is completely refreshed and ready to go compared to what it was before he came into the pits.
So he's got 133 laps to keep that car in one piece, because he doesn't have another fast repair to be able to fall back on. As top 5 would go back green, it's Gerald Campbell out there on 24-lap old tires, followed by Hank Steinmiller on 13-lap old tires, and then the drivers that came to pit road line up the rest of the top 5. Joseph Causey, as we mentioned, used the fast repair. Jeff Green and Tyler Riggs going to complete the top 5 here, as I believe the lights are at the top of the pace car, and we're going to be going back green flag racing, closing in on 130 laps to go.
Green flag action about to get underway. And Seth, I mean, I thought we were going to be seeing a lot more cautions, but, we've been doing a good job. Only 4 so far.
Randy Koken would have been in line, I do believe, to get the free pass under this yellow. Last we looked, he was 1 lap down, but he was on pit road under that last green flag run. Unscheduled repairs. 5 laps down now for the 11, as well as 5 laps down for Todd Eldridge, so it's going to take them a while and a number of cautions to get back in the lead lap as Campbell leads them back into turn 1. Best battling again continues to be back just inside the top 5 around the 4th position.
But Steinmiller going to be trying to dive it in.
Green!
There were 3 wide, Causey into the wall, and just like that fast repair was wasted.
Jeff Green was not willing to lift as he was battling with Tyler Riggs. They took the 46 of Causey 3 wide, and now the 10 and the 46 have got some pretty extensive damage.
And the 16 of Gordonary able to get by, as well as the 41 of Dallas Myhan and Rocky Boyd. I mean, that was a lot of contact made there, as they're still kind of wadded back from 8th on back, but up front, under fire, Gerald Campbell with those older tires doing a decent job of holding off Steinmiller.
Steinmiller's going to get to the left rear quarter panel here off the corner. Almost loses it off of turn 4. Tries to rewind and get back up there again. But that momentum he lost now brings Tyler Riggs and Rocky Boyd into the vicinity. 4 cars, less than half a second separation.
Yeah, and this is something to watch out for as 3 of, we've got Steinmiller. He's on older tires as well. Tyler Riggs and Rocky Boyd on the freshest of tires so far as they're battling now for 3rd place, figure out where they're going to be placed. Rocky Boyd digging it deep, trying to stay side by side with the 26.
Rocky Boyd trying to see if he can get the power down off of turn 4, not quite able to do it. Riggs gets the better corner exit, but at the same time, then he gets boxed in behind Hank Steinmiller off the corner.
Yeah, and they're driving as hard as possible, and the more that they continue to battle with these top 3 drivers, the more it's pulling in other machines, the 41, the 16, the 83. They're inching closer and closer as right now our top 7 all within a second and a half.
75 laps in, 16 of Anthony Guarneri just ran his fastest lap of the race. As still the battle's on for 3rd, and now Campbell, his car, Steinmiller got loose. Man, Rocky Boyd cut him a break and allowed him to gather it back up.
Yeah, and honestly, that was for the best of the whole entire field, as if you did not let him woe it back up. There were a lot more hungry machines that were going to come in and possibly make more contact. Another driver has parked it in the back. Randy Koken, has parked that 11 machine.
Alice Myhand has worked his way back up into the top 5 again.
Steinmiller goes around again. He's able to save it.
Drops him all the way back to the 9th position. You have to wonder if those older tires coming into play here. I mean, as
my goodness.
Campbell opened the door. Here comes Riggs.
Riggs now thinking about making a pass here as he'll be getting past. It's loose. Woo! Here comes Dallas Moynihan on the inside.
And he's going to clear for the spot. What a power move as both the 31 and the 26 were loose off the corner there.
Campbell once again scraping off the wall, and also Jake Hounshell did get loose about a lap ago, and he's lost a couple of positions. Yellow in the back. That's going to be Hank Steinmiller who loses it again out of 4.
Almost spun it down onto pit road, brings it back up onto the racing surface.
Actually, he drifted it through 3 and 4. He completely just kept on going, came to a stop off the exit.
My goodness, and I have to wonder, as we're going to go back and look at this replay of what happened to Hank Steinmiller. I mean, you've got guys up here like Gerald Campbell and Hank Steinmiller on the older tires, but they don't want to give up the spots, and it may be asking too much of the tires underneath you, and that's why we saw the 63 run into issues, and also Gerald Campbell have a couple of moments.
Yeah, I mean, it's them being on older tires that's causing this, and also because every single time you slide your car and get loose and just drift a little bit, you're adding more and more heat to the right side and the rear tires, which is going to make you want to slide even more than you usually would. So it just keeps on compounding on top of one another. But as we saw drivers stay out on older tires, we continue to see that as drivers are thinking track position is more important than having fresh tires, as now we got 3 drivers staying out as the rest of the field comes in.
Showed you the first spin there, or near spin by Hank Steinmiller. Here is the second one that eventually did bring out our 7th caution of the night. And the interesting thing here that I'm noticing, if we look at our cautions here tonight, 4 of them have been for solo car spins, no other contact with other drivers. Only 3 cautions have come out due to contact between other drivers.
Yeah, I mean, that's just something that we were seeing during practice as well, is drivers having the issue of spinning out and self-spinning. And so not surprised to see the issues that we're seeing right now. But everyone's trying to do their best at the moment.
Well, Dallas Myhan's looking for his 2nd win of the season. He's going to line up as the leader. Jeff Green's still looking for his 1st win of the season. He's lined up 2nd, followed by Shane Lake, Rocky Boyd, and it'll be Gerald Campbell completing the top 5 when we go back green. Won't take them long to be able to complete these pace laps here before we eventually go back under the green flag, closing on the halfway point. But we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break, catch our breath, and be back here for the restart. You won't miss a thing. We're going FRN side by side.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims assistance, advocacy on Capitol Hill and with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We also offer scholarship opportunities, and then also volunteerism. For me personally, when I came back from Iraq, my life experience was drastically different from those around me, and the veterans of foreign wars really spoke to me. The reason I would encourage veterans who have served overseas today to join the VFW is because this is your organization. The VFW is for veterans. Every generation, a new generation of leaders steps up in the veterans of foreign wars and fights for the veterans community.
The Veterans of Foreign Wars. No one does more for veterans. For more information on the VFW, go to ahctv.com/sacrifice.
Green flag set to come back out here. We are about 16 laps away from halfway this evening in the Thunder Valley 200 as Dallas Myhan gets us back underway. And under that commercial period there, Sam, you said a couple more drivers have utilized their fast repair for the second half of this race.
Yeah, the 16 of Canary has used his fast repair as well as the 07 of Seth Harrelson. So already, before we've gotten to halfway, almost half the field has already utilized their fast repairs as they were all whited up from fourth on back.
Yes, they are. Tyler Riggs, Shane Lake, Gerald Campbell, Jake Hounshell, all
They're
in
three
this
wide.
race. Oh no! Look at Whitendorf, last week's winner from Watkins Glen. He had no fear going through 1 and 2.
Yeah, that was, oh my god. I don't know how that field got through as that was Tyler Riggs that was trying to pull away from this field. But now to lead, Rocky Boyd in the 25, able to try to get by Dallas Myhan, but Myhan still keeping it side by side at the moment.
Ooh, slid up there in the center of the corner, though. That's going to allow Rocky Boyd to clear for the top position. Here comes Jeff Green. He's looking for third on Gerald Campbell. Actually, I think it's the other way around. I think Campbell's powering around on the outside.
Campbell trying to find that momentum on the outside, and it just carries so much more speed, and that's why he's utilizing the outside, but kind of getting blocked right now as Myhan getting shuffled out of the way, and here comes Campbell on the inside.
Very impressive that Campbell was able to make that move to the outside of Jeff Green, then crossing to the inside of Dallas Myhan. Usually we'd see a car spinning out, making a move like that on corner exit.
Drivers to keep your eyes on. That's going to be Dallas Myhan, as well as Jeff Green and Shane Lake. They are all on much older tires than the rest of the field. So if you see them get loose, that's most of the reason why. Another driver I'm looking out for is Jake Hounshell, who's been looking a little shaky as Weidendorf is just cutting through this field and moving his way forward.
And the two drivers that are forward charging right now as Myhan gets loose. Oh,
saves it.
Oh my goodness, how? How did he save that? There were like 3 or 4 cars right behind him.
I don't know, and I'm honestly surprised that he didn't hit the water barrels either, but able to keep going. We're still green. Up front, it's going to be Rocky Boyd leading the way. Gerald Campbell right on his back bumper.
Yeah, and Rocky Boyd's going to have to be a little bit worried because, as I was just going to say, Gerald Campbell and John Whitendorf, they have been the two that have been on the forward charge since we went back green. The two of them restarted 5th and 7th. They're now up to 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, and they are going to continue to try to push forward as Campbell got a great launch out of 2 there. Now thinking about which side to place his machine. And he's going to be staying right behind the 25. Now the block by the 25, it looked like there, as Campbell able to get under Rocky Boyd and trying to make a pass here for the lead.
Gerald Campbell now side by side with Boyd, and if they remain side by side, that's going to bring 3rd place on back into this conversation as well. Whitendorf, though, having his
Riggs gets loose and saves it. Woo!
We're just going to drop back to that battle for 3rd, and just like that, the 26 of Riggs makes a speedy exit. Campbell is cleared for the top position. No, here comes Boyd back again on the top side.
We're just seeing the inside line is great for the entry of the corner. It's on exit where the outside lane is the more dominant line. As right now, Rocky Boyd's still doing well, but here comes the lap machine of Todd Eldridge. He's still on the track, able to stay where he is. I think Todd Eldridge is probably one of the most respectful lap machines of getting out of the way for these drivers. As the battle for the lead still underway, as Gerald Campbell right on the back quarter panel, and here comes Whitendorf, and here comes Steinmiller as well.
All of a sudden, the 63 is back up in the conversation of Hank Steinmiller, who we saw spin to bring out our last caution. Had to work his way from the back of the field up here into the top 3, trying to take the 3rd position away from Steinmiller. As this battle for the lead continues on, Rocky Boyd stubbornly on that outside line. Gerald Campbell continues to dogfight. They make contact as we got a spinner. Shane Lake, look out!
spinning around. It's going to be Rocky Boyd almost hitting the car that spun out. That was Lake on the inside. Whitendorf. Oh, that was so much contact for the drivers up front.
Jake Hounshell got involved, and maybe a little contact to the left front for Jeff Green as he was trying to avoid the 16 of Boyd, who was sitting in the middle of the track.
Steinmiller got a lot of damage there as well as Hounshell, like you said. I think Christopher Morris Jr. was lucky to be on the inside there. Everyone that was trying to hold the outside line had some type of contact, and that was I'm gonna have to keep my eye here on Steinmiller and see if Steinmiller's gonna have to use a fast repair, because that was a very hard front end damage that could be damage for the engine, as all the drivers are coming into the pits except for Tyler Riggs, surprisingly.
Well, there you see the spin that Shane Lake had. And as he's trying to get the car refired, here comes Rocky Boyd into John Whitendorf, Steinmiller, and Hounshell all collected up in this one as well. And, oh, wow. It's tough to tell there if maybe Jeff Green got through unscathed. I mean, there is the point where we do see that car will blink through another one and not make that much contact. If he didn't get Rocky Boyd with the left front, he may have gotten it with the left rear, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, and looking back now, Christopher Morris Jr. did use a fast repair on that last, about back on lap 83. So that is another driver that has used fast repair, going back and taking a look at all the drivers that have gotten fast repair so far.
Well, when the time that caution came out, I believe the 81 of Shane Lake had been put a lap down. So he's staying up here at the front of the field. I believe he is scored on the lead lap. He's actually scored the race leader. And this surprises me just based on the fact that not only is he out there on 37-lap old tires, but he just got done having a spin off of turn 2. So those tires have to be worn.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that he's still running out here with the damage. I mean, with the spin out and the older tires that are so heated up. It's very shocking to see.
So it looks like Dallas Myhand is bringing his car to pit road. He was in the second position. So Gerald Campbell will now line up in second. And, okay, now it looks like Shane Lake actually is falling to the back. I'm guessing that probably he was a lap down when the caution came out, so he's actually the lucky dog. I think that might be why he is EOLing and still on the lead lap, but I'm a little surprised if you're the lucky dog, why not take the opportunity to come down and get some fresh tires?
I think there might have been a slight confusion on what was going down. That might have been what hindered the 81 from coming into the pits.
8th caution of the evening. We have just now crossed the threshold into the home stretch. We're now in the second half of this race. We'll be going back green, I think, with 97 laps to go in this one. And out of 16 drivers that took the green to start this race and working our 8th caution, we've still got 14 cars running and 13 of them on the lead lap. Yes, as you alluded to, Sam, a number of them have used their fast repair early on in this one, but still the fact that we've still got 14 survivors out of the 16 that started this race, very impressive with what we've seen here tonight so far at Bristol.
Yeah, especially from what we were seeing from practice and translating it to the race. It's been an honor to see these drivers running as well as they have, and they've been honestly staying more green flag racing than what we were expecting to see, really.
And some great racing up here at the front. And now it's Campbell and Steinmiller again, 1 and 2. Christopher Morris Jr., Seth Harrelson, and Joseph Causey, the top 5 as we get back underway.
Yeah, and under that caution, oh my goodness, as a car back in third place did not go. That was going to be the 07 of Harrelson. Did not go and jacked everyone up from fourth on back.
Might have missed a gear there as he was really slow on the back straightaway. Doesn't look like your classic case of purposely dropping to the back, as he was miles per hour off of everybody else.
Yeah, and now we're keeping our eyes out on other drivers that are still running back here as this battle come right now, battling for fifth place, of Causey as well as Rocky Boyd. I mean, Causey with a very damaged 46 machine after already utilizing their fast repair, trying to put a good show out in 6th place, and now being passed by Jeff Green, it looks like, as they're still wadded up here. Gerald Campbell trying to stay up front from Hank Steinmiller.
And we've already talked about the fact if you have rear end damage, it's going to affect you with your downforce with that spoiler being put down even further. What about like looking at Jeff Green and some of these other guys that have the front end damage? Does that affect you in any way in the corner?
I mean, it really matters on where you're getting the damage. If it's on the front, on the sides of the quarter panels, then yes, it's going to be hindering you slightly. If it's dead center, I think as long as you don't have any engine damage, it shouldn't hurt you too much to get that much damage there. But mainly it's the spoiler. If you injure the spoiler in any fashion, your downforce is pretty much gone, and you're kind of just skating around this course hoping for the best.
Now, Bristol Motor Speedway, very well known for the term bump and run, and just a moment ago, Hank Steinmiller had his front bumper to the back bumper of Gerald Campbell saying, "Hey buddy, I'm here, I want the race lead back." Of course, Steinmiller started this race from the pole, trying to go coast to coast here tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Yeah, and I think Steinmiller has a very good shot of doing it, as these two machines have just completely gapped themselves from the three of Christopher Morris Jr. And then you got to go back another second and a half where you get to see Rocky Boyd and the rest of the field racing, where Anthony Graneri being battled by Tyler Riggs, as those drivers have been a little bit loosey-goosey here, as they've been continuing to just hold on to this car. I mean, our colleague Matthew Rodriguez, Tyler Riggs comes around!
And he's going to hit the wall pretty good with the passenger side of that 26. No caution yet.
As he gets that thing fired back up, no caution. We stay green as the battle for the lead still between Campbell and Steinmiller, as Tyler Riggs going to stay on the inside waiting for his time to merge back up onto the track.
I don't know what it is, but consistently here tonight at Bristol, 5th, 6th, 7th on back has kind of been the hornet's nest here tonight. A lot of double wide racing has been happening in that vicinity of the field, and Tyler Riggs spun around while running at the time in the 6th position.
Also looked like impossible another spin for the 81 machine, as he's been struggling right now on the older tires that just look dead at the moment, as our leaders are coming up. Still have cars lake into the wall as our leaders are coming by.
Oh, hold the brake. He's going to come back down the track onto the apron. Fortunately, the leaders are going to avoid him, as that car, you're right, it never even turned going into the corner there. Talking about the 81 of Shane Lake.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you were thought that he would have already gone to the pits just because of how rough it had been. I mean, these drivers have been struggling just being on 20-plus lap-old tires. He was out there for 50-plus laps, and showing that it is almost impossible to go that long on these tires.
See if we can see what happened first to Tyler Riggs off of turn 2, and then we'll look again at the incident with Shane Lake. We kind of caught the tail end of it when he got up into the wall, and that car actually went up onto 2 wheels for a brief moment there, and wow, Tyler Riggs, when he spun around, maybe one of the luckiest drivers right there was Joseph Causey. We know he's already used a fast repair, and he almost T-boned the 26 on the back straightaway.
Yeah, Causey's already used fast repair, has already been in multiple instances with other drivers, so very lucky to still be running as well as he is.
Now we'll take a look and see again what happened with the 81 of Shane Lake. And you were correct, Sam. Just prior to this, he almost looped the thing around over in 1 and 2, was able to save it, but then this hit into the outside wall. No way he was able to save this one, and this was with oncoming traffic, just about maybe a straightaway, maybe half a straightaway behind him.
Yeah, and just he's trying his best to survive, and when leaders are coming, you try to get out of the way or hold the brake, and since he was so perpendicular to the rest of the leaders, he had to just get out of the way as quick as possible. Lucky that the leaders stayed on course and didn't try to go below him, or that would have been disastrous for all drivers up front.
This is on board with Gerald Campbell, just to show you how close the leaders were coming into the vicinity. There's Shane Lake drifting down the track. Gerald Campbell having to make a quick move there, maybe a half groove higher than he was expecting to go through that corner to not run into the 81.
Well, all the drivers have come into the pits this time by, and now it's no one's really trying any type of strategy call here, which I think is the safest move for all of these drivers so far.
Well, I'm looking at the pit stop time. I think Steinmiller might have gone with a 2-tire strategy, because he spent about 11 seconds in his pit stall, while everybody else spent between 20 to 22 seconds for their 4-tire pit stop. So it might be the first driver, at least up at the front, that we're seeing going with the 2-tire stop.
I mean, it's not a bad call to do right now. I mean, you have plenty of time to work with. We just passed the halfway marker. Why not give it a try out there?
You know what I find interesting too? We ended up seeing earlier on a lot of these drivers talking about this track, the setup, what their strategies were probably going to be. One driver, the points leader coming into this race, Christopher Morris Jr., said he wasn't going to be pushing it early on. You alluded to the fact he's already used his fast repair. He's now been keeping himself up in the top 5 vicinity, right now going to restart in 3rd place. So I think he's realizing at this point, all right, I don't have a faster pair to fall back on. I got to keep my car up at the front here now, stay away from that hornet's nest in the midway portion of the top 10.
Yeah, and a lot of these drivers are thinking that I don't want to utilize a fast repair at this point. For all the drivers that have already used a fast repair, that's kind of a little bit nerve-wracking for them already with what they're dealing with. About half the field has already utilized it, and I mean, Todd Eldridge has already used it. Harleson's used one. Christopher Morris Jr., Rocky Boyd, the 16 has already used one, as well as the 46. I mean, a lot of these front runners already have utilized their fast repairs, and the rest of the field still tiptoeing around everyone else with damage already as we are green.
Hank Steinmiller, the roles are reversed. Before that caution came out, it was Steinmiller trying to get the lead from Gerald Campbell. Now Campbell on the back bumper of the 63, but remember, Campbell has 4 fresh tires. Steinmiller only has 2 on that last pit stop.
A driver, I'm surprised on how aggressive they seem to be running right now. That's going to be the 25 machine of Rocky Boyd, who's on the inside, battling for 4th place, and as well battling with the 3 of Christopher Morris Jr. Both those drivers have already utilized their fast repairs.
Looks like Rocky Boyd will clear for the 4th position, following in the tire tracks of Jeff Green, who moves up to 3rd. Dallas Myhan back here, just outside the top 5, along with the 83 of Jake Hounshell.
As Gerald Campbell right on the back bumper of the 63 for the lead, not able to get there just enough. He's cleared. It's going to be Steinmiller. As I'm also going to be looking at the battle back for 8th place. You got Joseph Causey as well as the 16. This is another battle of drivers that have already used their fast repairs. So it's interesting to see that the drivers that really haven't used their fast repairs, they're the ones that are trying to stay single file unless you're up front, where Gerald Campbell again tries to go side by side, not able to hold on to that momentum coming down the front or back stretch.
Looks like Causey will clear for 8th. Last week's winner, John Whitendorf, now trying to move into the 9th position. And one driver that's just kind of riding back there in the 7th spot. We haven't said his name very much here tonight, but Jake Hounshell in that 83. Right now, he and Dallas Myhan trying to kind of close up the gap that was built against them last week at Watkins Glen when the 2 of them finished poorly and Christopher Morse Jr. was able to salvage a top 5 run. Currently, Morse Jr. running ahead of both the 41 and the 83, trying to preserve his points gap for the final 2 races.
Yeah, I mean, Hounshell has been struggling a lot today. He's been trying to just hold on to that machine, not trying to push it at all. And really, it seems like it's an all-race learning experience. I mean, that's what everyone else is dealing with, but really, Hounshell is waiting for his time to make that push forward. Speaking of pushing forward, Jeff Green has caught up to our front 2, and looks like he's thinking about making a pass here on Gerald Campbell as they're getting inching closer and closer to one another. And really, the battle inside of the field that's getting really hot and heavy is that battle for 7th place, as Hounshell about to be under fire by Causey and Whitendorf.
Joseph Causey has been making a couple of moves here under this run as he was able to work his way from 9th up to 8th and now looking for 7th position. Whitendorf, we saw earlier on, making a quick charge to the front, moving from 9th up to 3rd in the matter of about 4 laps. A little bit slower and methodical this time, but he'll get around the outside of Joseph Causey, working his way up into the 8th position.
I went back to watching this front battle, and Gerald Campbell has been sliding every once in a while. I'm nervous for those back tires if they're going to get heated up too much, as he got a great run through 3 and 4 there, now on the back bumper of the 63.
And we have to remember that Hank Steinmiller, he's doing this on just fresh right side tires. Very impressive that he's being able to take away the line that Campbell wants to run, being able to hold those fresh Goodyears behind him.
That bump and run looking tasty, not going to happen. Gerald Campbell just dumps it to the inside, trying to make that inside line work, pushing Steinmiller up to the high side, and Steinmiller going to try to pinch as well as he can, but it just looks like he's not able to really hold that middle lane. He's stuck on the high side due to those tires.
Jared Campbell has been one of the drivers here tonight that has looked the most stable off the corner. Oh! Whoa! Contact there as he got loose, and Jeff Green gets into the back of him, but you know, if it's possible to look stable on the inside line coming off the corner, Campbell has looked like he has been the one been able to direct his car straight off the corner, not necessarily get the run, but at least keep the car underneath him.
That's going to be Seth Harlson that our leaders are coming up to as he spun around corner number 2, stays on the apron, lets everyone else goes by. Seth Harlson now 1 lap down with heavy damage.
And remember, he's one of the drivers that has already utilized a faster pair, and I saw some pretty dark smoke lingering there on the back straightaway. As Campbell Again, it tries to get a runoff of 2.
Contact made with Todd Eldridge and Lake as the no yellows come out, but looks like the 81 and the 96 made contact on the backstretch.
Yeah, saw some more skid marks there heading up to the outside wall towards turn 3, but still no caution. We remain green, and now you can throw a blanket over 4 drivers as Steinmiller and Campbell and Green have been reeled in by Rocky Boyd.
Campbell, he's hugging that back bumper. He's trying to figure out how to get by. The 63 is yellow comes out. That's going to be back where Dallas Myhand is, and that's also going to be where Todd Eldridge.
I think it started with Myhand. I saw him very slowly falling down the running order. May have nearly lost it there off of turn 4, and I can't tell if Todd Eldridge got into him or just came to a stop, waiting for the 41 to get going again.
No, he got into him. Contact there between those drivers, as well as it looks like the 16 made contact with another machine. Believe he also got contact with, I think, Tyler Riggs, possibly. No, that was another black machine. As the 16 machine, once he was coming down the front stretch, also made contact with someone else.
07 of Harrelson?
I'm taking a look, and yeah, that was Harrelson.
There you saw the contact with Dallas Myhand getting hit from behind by Todd Eldridge, who had already been involved under that run, as you had alluded to, with Shane Lake in an incident. We'll see if we can actually have an opportunity to go back and look at that as well. We'll also see if we can find out what happened to Harrelson off of turn 2. Oh, yeah, it looked like Guarneri was starting to slow down. Harrelson was not slowing down quite as much. Took the 16 around in the left rear quarter panel. The good news, though, for Guarneri, though, was he didn't get spun down to the inside wall. He didn't hit anything.
Another driver that's going to be using a fast repair, that's going to be the 41 of Dallas Myhand, who we're used to seeing saving those fast repairs for later on in the race.
And one thing that Jeff Green did not want to see, he is having some connection problems with blinking in and out, so we'll have to see how that affects him for the remainder of this race, as we're only about 60 laps away from the conclusion of this one.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most major connection issues we've seen for Green in a long time, so odd to see this bad of connection issues for this machine.
There's the hit right there for Seth Harrelson, the 07, off of turn 2, and then I believe that the contact between Shane Lake and Todd Eldridge is going to take place the lap after. Oh, yeah. Shane Lake, that car was loose off of turn 2 and didn't actually spin out until he got over to turn 3. And there's the hit for Todd Eldridge. Wow, that's pretty good impact with the front end of the 96, who has already utilized his fast repair here tonight. Looks like Hank Steinmiller, that gamble of taking just the right sides paid off, as when he came to pit road, everybody else came down with him and everybody took on 4 fresh tires. So, I don't know, Sam. We get ourselves a late race restart here. I think some drivers going to be taking some notice of that and possibly be thinking about doing a 2-tire strategy as well.
Yeah, I would take that to the back of my brain, thinking 2 tires did work. Steinmiller did a fantastic job of holding off, and he even has a ton of front left damage for the 63 machine. It still is running well up front. So it's 2 tires. Something that we were notified before was the fact that the left side tires really weren't getting worn down as much as the right sides were. They were really getting brutalized. So 2 tires looks like it's a way to go, as we're still seeing drivers coming and blinking in and out right now, as Jeff Green still in the pits trying to figure out what his issues are at the moment.
Jeff Green, who has spent most of this race up inside of the top 5. What a horrible time to be having these problems as we are closing in on the final quarter of this race. Hank Steinmiller going to restart right up against the wall with Gerald Campbell, Rocky Boyd, Chris Morse Jr., and Jake Hounshell, the top 5. And we got to let everybody know here as well, these drivers racing tooth and nail here tonight. Not only is a victory on the line, but this is a paying race as well. $25 to the winner.
$25 for the winner, and also all of the entry funds to come and race in this thing are going to the Breast Cancer Awareness Fund that we are doing here for the Flatout Racing Network. It's awesome cause. His contact is Gerald Campbell hard into the outside wall through 1 and 2.
Boy, he rode that outside wall for quite a good portion of the first two corners, losing some ground to Hank Steinmiller in the process. You can see that right side pretty well used up on the 31 machine. Battle right now inside the top 5. Looks like it's going to be for around the 4th position. That's where Jake Houndshell is finally starting to make a charge, putting some pressure on Christopher Morse Jr.
Also behind them, Dallas Myhan just made probably one of the best saves so far this race, keeping his car straight and still running quick in 9th place, as they're still side by side in front of him for the battle for 6th place. But man, everywhere they are just continuing to be racing hard with a lot of mixture of drivers that already have used their fast repairs, which is kind of making me a little nervous that they're not being more hesitant. But it is Bristol, and these laps are going to tick away very quickly.
Absolutely, and there could get to a point where we go into a long enough green flag run that this race ends under green flag conditions, and drivers that could have had the opportunity to use the fast repair under a caution may end up running these entire 200 laps without even using one.
I think it's pretty cute that you think that maybe that's something that would happen. I cannot see that happen at all. As we are inching closer and closer to the final quarter of this race, these drivers, the intensity level is going to kick up. And if you have been saving any type of animosity to someone else, right now might be the time to finally use that bumper on them.
I don't know what's happened. Oh, I was just about to talk about him, and he's going to almost spin it around. Joseph Causey was making quite a charge to the front, was battling for the 3rd and 4th position with Rocky Boyd and Christopher Morse Jr. Myhan pounds the wall there as well in the 41 machine.
Yeah, Myhan has just been, he's been having a whale of a day. He's already used the fast repair on that last restart, the last caution. So now the 41 machine, he's using what he's got, as well as Causey. Is more contact between those two drivers. And you move up in front of them, Weitendorf and Tyler Riggs, they're running hard with one another. And then our front two, they've gapped themselves to over a 2.5 seconds over the rest of the field.
Tyler Riggs trying to get that spot from John Weitendorf, can't quite do it there off the final corner, tries again into turn 1. As you mentioned, up at the front, it is mono over a second between these top 2 in 3rd place. So now it's Hank Steinmiller looking in his rearview mirror, trying to hold off Gerald Campbell with less than 50 to go.
Again, close to that outside wall. These drivers sometimes hitting it, sometimes you get so close getting a paper between the driver of the wall and the car. They continue to run hard, but Dallas Myhan is going to be spinning around, bringing our caution out.
11th caution of the night, as Dallas Myhan, who's already used his fast repair, really was struggling there on that run after getting hard up into the outside wall, and you could just see the rear end damage on that car. You got to think that the spoiler coming into play there with this spin, bringing out this latest yellow. And okay, So Sam, I brought up the question. You said I was optimistic, but we're less than 50 laps to go. If you haven't used your fast repair, do you use it now, or do you think another caution comes out that you can utilize it?
Our front two still have not used their fast repairs. I don't expect them to use it anytime soon. I think Gerald Campbell and Seth Harrelson, it's more, Gerald Campbell and Hank Steinmiller, both of them are thinking, save it until I have to use my fast repair, as they've both been the fastest machines so far. A driver that's trying out a different strategy, Christopher Morse Jr., 2-tire strategy for himself. Seth Harrelson going to be going with the no tires and staying out for the 07.
That's going to make things interesting, because I'm getting deja vu from earlier on in this race when Seth Harrelson decided to stay out, and he had a devil of a time trying to get out of the way of the faster machines on fresher tires. Christopher Morse Jr., on the other hand, we already know that the 2-tire strategy has worked out once, and that was with Hank Steinmiller. So, you know what? He's got a bit of a gap right now as far as the points lead after a good run last week at Watkins Glen. So why not roll the dice, try some strategy, and see if you can pick up another win this year?
Yeah, might as well try something different out there. If you have a shot at doing something different, might as well go for it.
Well, Harrelson apparently feeling that safer to come down pit road, get those tires. So he at least was able to lead a lap there, and now he'll be dropping to the tail end of the field, coming down, and we'll see if he can actually make some forward progress. Update on the drivers that were trapped a lap down prior to this yellow. Shane Lake, who was actually the one that spun the 41 of Myhan around after Myhan got up into the wall there in turn 2. Looks like he was the recipient of the free pass. He is going to be back on the lead lap. Jeff Green has finally settled out his connection problems, but lost 4 laps in the process, and Todd Eldridge on pit road. He does not have that second faster pair to fall back on. We saw the hard hit he took with Shane Lake. Has spent about 8.5 minutes on pit lane, 26 laps down.
Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to see how Christopher Morris Jr. does here. His rear spoiler still looking good. Does have some front end damage that might hurt this 3 machine, as that was the difference between the 63 of Steinmiller and Morris Jr. Steinmiller doesn't really look like he's got that much front end damage. Yes, there's a lot of damage on that that left side of his machine, but it's not up front, as there's a ton of front end damage for the 3.
Yeah, the thing for Christopher Morris Jr., though, as well, is he's had good pace here tonight. Been running up 3rd or 4th place in the last 25 laps or so. But if you go back to that last run, Hank Steinmiller and Gerald Campbell were on another planet from everybody else. And so I'm just not sure, even with this strategy, with those worn left side tires, if the 3 is going to have the pace to keep Steinmiller and Campbell at bay. But he leads them down here. The green flag back out. We're closing on 40 to go.
40 laps to go, and they start to string out. Here comes Steinmiller as Christopher Morris Jr. has nothing to hold off that 3 machine.
No contest as Steinmiller going to edge ahead here into turn 3. Clears for the spot. The pressure is now on Gerald Campbell to try and make quick work of the 3 so he can get back up there and try and continue to battle with Steinmiller for the race lead.
If Campbell can't get by here in the next lap or 2, he's going to lose the 63. Steinmiller has been a lot better at just pulling away once he's in this comfortable zone of being in the lead, fresh air, and nothing really to work with. This Campbell's still stuck on the inside, and this is where he's been kind of stalling out. He's been looking smooth on the inside, but he hasn't had the pace on the inside to hold off and get by drivers that are stuck on the outside of him.
John Whitendorf and Jake Houndshell now going to battle for 5th. Give it to Houndshell. Joseph Causey now to the inside as well, looking for 6th.
Update on Jeff Green. He is running at the moment 5 laps down. First car 1 lap down is going to be Lake.
Gerald Campbell way up the track again. Possibly may have brushed the wall there through 3 and 4 as he continues to try and battle with Christopher Morris Jr. And as this is going on, it's now half a second advantage for Hank Steinmiller over this battle. 4, 5, 6 cars battling for the 2nd spot.
Yeah, and right now, Christopher Morris Jr. is just stalling out the rest of the field that have fresh tires. They cannot catch up to Steinmiller as they continue to run hard. Causey gets a little loose out of 2 and almost completely takes out the 83 of Houndshell there.
They both keep it together as they're side-by-side behind them. Tyler Riggs and John Whitendorf. This is the battle for 7th place. Move up ahead. Ooh. Battle for 2nd is on again. Campbell tried to make the move, got loose off of 2. Here comes Rocky Boyd.
Both Campbell and Tyler Riggs got loose in the same corner. Rocky Boyd trying to now be the one that makes that inside line work. Decide otherwise, moving back up. As Christopher Morris Jr., I can just see him getting bumped out of the way here by the 31 of Campbell. As these laps are ticking away, your time to make a move on our leader is dwindling as well, as now Todd Eldridge, they've caught back up too.
You can just see the difference between the 2 tires and the 4 tires of how well Gerald Campbell's able to attack the entry of the corner, but it stacked him up, and Rocky Boyd's there to capitalize.
We'll see if Rocky Boyd does. Contact made. Campbell has nowhere to go. Foot being over is going to be the 3, and that is awful for the points leader.
Another car was up and over as well. I think it might have been the 33 of Whitendorf off the nose of the 16 of Guarneri.
And now's the time. If you have not used the faster pair and you're involved in that wreck, you have to make sure you click on the faster pair and make sure if you're getting teleported, you did not forget to click it, or you're going to have to manually get that repaired. We've seen the issues there as Rocky Boyd really flew into the pits quite quick for that 25 machine. He actually might get a penalty for coming in so fast.
Man, Christopher Morris Jr. with a wild ride there through turns 3 and 4. And let's not forget, as we're going to watch the impact of his wreck and his flip, that he had already used his faster pair prior to this.
Christopher Morris Jr. is still running. He's still on all 4 and running after all of that somehow.
Wild flip as Jeff Green's able to come to a stop. And as we mentioned, John Whitendorf got involved as well. And we'll have to see. I saw the back end of the car going up in the air after he got hit from behind by Guarneri. I don't know if he did actually flip or not, but he was definitely close. This was in reaction to the 3 up ahead of him flipping. I mean, Whitendorf's on the brakes, as is Guarneri, as is Riggs, and that's one of the tough things as well, is when you get on the brakes here, the car's so loose, it just snaps around on you.
Yeah, it really did snap on these drivers. And looking back at the drivers that have used fast repairs, looks like Campbell, the only one of our front runners that came to the pits that did utilize that fast repair there though. So cleanest car on track is the 31 machine. We'll see where he starts out, as so many cars did stay out there for a moment.
Looks like Campbell will be lining up in the 4th position behind Steinmiller, Joseph Causey, and Jake Hounshell. And, we were kind of wondering where Jake Hounshell was. He was actually making some forward progress under that run, and Joseph Causey has maybe been one of the more aggressive drivers here under these last couple of restarts, as he's been able to pick his way through the field pretty well, and highest he's run here tonight in that runner-up spot. You see Shane Lake there in the 81. I think he was the free pass car again here under this yellow, so he'd be back on the lead lap. Todd Eldridge looks like he's trying to take the wave around in the 96, as we got more drivers on pit road. Rocky Boyd, Dallas Myhan coming down pit lane. I don't think they're topping off the fuel tank. I think they may be getting a little bit of damage repaired.
Yeah, some of these drivers deciding, hey, let's just get repairs done. If there's another late caution, there's still plenty of time to come in and get the repairs done. With it being less than 30 laps to go here, I mean, I bet some of these drivers are aiming for about 15 laps to go, expecting there to be another caution here, maybe even 2 more cautions as we're getting ready to get back underway here. There's still plenty of time. I mean, doing the math quickly, there's still time for about another 4 more cautions if needed, as another one goes on our list.
Not sure if you had him on your list there, Sam, but Tyler Riggs was on pit road for a long period of time, lost 3 laps getting damage repaired to his 26.
Yeah, and he had to teleport into the pits. That's why he was on pit road for so long. Tyler Riggs is the next car to use a fast repair. The only issue, 3 laps down for the 26 machine.
Almost 25 laps remaining in this race as Steinmiller gets us back underway. Gerald Campbell wasting no time. He got around Hounshell quickly for 3rd. Now trying to see if he can make the move on Causey. Woo! Get awfully close there to be able to make this crossover move down into turn 3.
Campbell's been frustrated. He's cars in the back being spun around. I believe that was the 07 that got loose there, able to save it.
Rocky Boyd, though, he went around, had to come to a stop just at the pit road entry off of turn 2. No caution, however, as he was able to get it going again.
Oh my goodness, Joseph Causey coming in with a head of steam, almost taking the rear end off of the 63 machine of Hank Steinmiller, as we were inching closer and closer to about 20 laps to go. Woo!
16 had his 2 left sides down on the apron, and that thing nearly snapped around on him in that battle for the 3rd spot.
Causey overcorrected, throwing it into the outside wall. No one else made contact, and now it's going to be between Hank Steinmiller and Gerald Campbell now for the 2 drivers battling it up as they're coming up here to the 96 of Todd Eldridge.
Is that the 3 of Christopher Morse Jr. running in 4th place? Wasn't that car flipped over in turn 4 just a couple of laps ago?
It was. He still is running up here. Got 4 fresh tires. Still able to run quick. That engine damage didn't hurt him. It was all cosmetic around the 3 machine.
And Rocky Boyd is now on pit road in that 16 machine after that near spin. Actually, I think that's a stop and go. He may have actually crossed the commitment line when he had that spin, and that might be why he actually had to come to pit road for a stop and go, serving a penalty.
Yeah, which you hate to see there for Rocky Boyd, who's running in the top 5 almost all race, as we are now coming to 20 laps to go. Seth, I got to throw the question out there. Are we done with cautions?
The field is more spread out now than it has been the last couple of restarts. Best battle right now is for the 4th position. So in terms of drivers making contact and bringing out a caution, I think we might be safe for the moment. But I mean, when we get longer into these runs, we're closing in on 12 laps into this run. And when we get to around 17 to 20 laps into a run, that's when we see these drivers spinning out. So no, I don't think so.
Now we're starting to see Campbell with the fresh cosmetic, not as much damage now on that 31 machine, is running down Hank Steinmiller, but they're also catching up to Rocky Boyd and others that are battling in front of them. Actually, excuse me, that's Tyler Riggs.
We got a spinner.
Boy.
Joseph Causey off of turn 2. He keeps it together, though, still green.
Rocky Boyd is right on the back bumper of the 07 of Seth Harrelson. Seth Harrelson, the last car on the lead lap, and that's who our leaders are catching up to. We're about to see 3 lap cars in front of our leaders. Yellow in the back, as Spinner is going to be, I believe, the 33 of Whitendorf, as well as the 46 of Causey.
Whoa, Causey brings it right back up the track, almost into Tyler Riggs. And Joseph Causey, who had a near moment there off of turn 2 a couple of laps ago. Apparently that heated up those right tires, or those rear tires, as he loops it around there with maybe a little help from the 33 of Whitendorf.
It was Whitendorf that spun it, and that Causey had nowhere to go in the 46 machine. Heavy damage for himself. He's going to be spending a long time in pit road if he tries to get that damage repaired.
Let's see, with Whitendorf here, yeah, just loops it around in the 33, and then there's Causey. Whoa, man, I mean, what do you do in that situation? Causey had no choice but to turn the car down to the left, and we've seen a number of drivers spinning off of turn 2, been able to get on the brakes and make little to no contact with the inside wall, but to your point, man, Causey pounded that inside wall a ton, as I don't think he was able to get on the brakes quickly enough. He was more concerned about avoiding the 33.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much you can do in those situations, but I will say this, a little bit of strategy being called as Gerald Campbell decides to be staying out as the rest of the field coming into the pits.
I'll tell you what that was. That was a game of cat and mouse, because Campbell was right on the back bumper of Steinmiller heading down towards the commitment line, and as soon as they got to that commitment box, Campbell made the hard right-hand turn after the 63 had committed to come back out on the racetrack. So a very shifty maneuver there for Gerald Campbell. We're going to have to see if it pans out for him, though, because everybody else behind him is going to have fresh tires.
Yeah, and trying a different strategy compared to the rest of the field. And really, the thing I'm most surprised about is the fact that Steinmiller did not use a fast repair there. And believe on my charts, he still has one to utilize. So surprising to see.
Looks like Campbell's going to be the race leader when we go back green. Shane Lake just got back on the lead lap, a caution to go. He's going to be lined up in second, but he's got 32-lap-old tires. Hank Steinmiller, the highest up there on the fresh tires, will be third, followed by Houndshell. And that damaged machine of Chris Morse Jr., if he salvages a top 5 here tonight, I'm going to be very impressed.
It's important. I mean, he has to get a top 5 finish here to make sure that he doesn't see Steinmiller, a Houndshell, or anyone else that's trying to catch up to the 3 machine and points-wise, for them to get too much of a gain on them or to even try to gap a little bit. But I was about to say, if Lake was going to be starting up front, I was nervous because we've seen the 81 be up front with the damage in old tires previously, and it did not go well the last time.
Looks like he's EOLing himself. He'll drop back to the 9th position. We got 9 drivers on the lead lap. John Whitendorf, after his problem there on the back straightaway, is a lap down in 10th. Rocky Boyd, who lost a lap, having to serve that penalty there in 11th. Tyler Riggs is 3 laps down in 12th. Jeff Green, 4 laps down in 13th. And Eldridge, who is back out on the track, 29 laps down in 14th position. 9 cars on the lead lap of 14 still running. And we're going to be going back green with 11 laps to go here at Bristol.
11 laps to go, and only a handful of drivers still have a fast repair to work with. As another machine that used fast repair during that caution is going to be Whitendorf. So we'll leave Houndshell, Lake, and I believe those are the only 2 that might still have a fast repair left, and also Steinmiller.
How aggressive is Steinmiller going to be here on this restart? Because with us getting ready to go back green here, closing on the end of this race, there is every possibility of yellow.
As they drift back up.
Yellow. Caution.
Oh my goodness, so much more. Jeff Green involved. Whitendorf, who just used his fast repair, was involved. Another car in front smoking.
What just happened to the 83?
He found a glitch in the track that just flipped him over.
There was a spot in the transition from the apron to the racetrack, and that car just jumped in the air, and now he is turtled on his roof. Oh my goodness.
He has to teleport. He has to tow. He just went from a chance to possibly just get the repair and stay on the lead lap to now he's going to be multiple laps down.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
With a chance to possibly gain points on the 3 machine, this could possibly throw his chances out to even have a championship run.
This could be the championship here tonight. There's only 2 more races remaining after tonight.
Oh, and the 3, even with his woes, he's up here in the 3rd place position. How is this happening?
Oh, there's the shot for Jeff Green. There's Rocky Boyd, Shane Lake, John Whitendorf. And, oh, there's where he hits that glitch. And it was 3 wide coming off of turn number 2. There's just no way that was going to work. I couldn't tell who the other car was. I think it was Steinmiller, Houndshell, and Guarneri that were 3 wide coming off that corner.
I mean, the only driver that is ecstatic with this caution has to be Gerald Campbell. As he really, if the longer the run went green, the more that Steinmiller was going to have that advantage. With it becoming now just a shootout here, with only possibly 3 laps to go, and then if a caution comes out, we'll end under caution. I mean, Gerald Campbell's in a very good spot as long as he doesn't get spun out here.
We just need to remind him not to come to pit road a lap too soon, because let's not forget, he did that back, I think it was at Darlington, and we're here tonight at Bristol. We called it pulling a Mark Martin. Well, it was here at Bristol that Mark Martin had it happen to him.
Yeah, and you're hoping not to see it again, but you never know for these drivers. As the driver that's going to be getting the lucky dog there, I believe that's going to be Rocky Boyd who gets it this time, as he's now in the pits and trying to go back out onto track now.
After what we just saw, now 8 drivers will be on the lead lap, including Rocky Boyd, as Jake Houndshell is still having to serve his tow. Joseph Causey's on pit road. He's 2 laps down in the 46. I mean, you brought up the point here about the possibility of the race ending under yellow, so as soon as we go green, it's got to be go time for Hank Steinmiller if he's going to win this race, I would think.
Yeah, he needs to make the pass here in the first 2 laps. If another caution comes out, I believe the our marker that we're looking for is on lap 196. If a caution happens on lap 196 or later, this race should end under yellow. So it's going to be tricky here for these drivers, because with the 87 rule set, there is no overtime. So if we finish this race under caution, it's over. So it is all about getting up front as quick as possible and hope that you are not involved in that late caution that is probably going to ruin your day.
Well, how fitting that it's going to come down between the 2 strongest cars of the night overall. Hank Steinmiller started this race from the pole, and really in terms of running, he has not been outside of the top 3 this entire race. Gerald Campbell's also been out in front here tonight, though he had to kind of claw his way up to the front several times, and he's going to be the control car here. Might have the advantage because he's going to have the choice of what line he wants in these corners. Steinmiller's going to have to try something different. Will he use the bumper is the question.
And here comes Christopher Morse Jr. He was trying to make that outside line work. It kind of stalled him out. But here comes the battle for the lead as Steinmiller gets to run off the exit. He's got the outside run, and that is going to be helping him dramatically. Here's Rick off the corner. That is going to be, I believe. Oh, my goodness. Rick in the back. That was Seth Harrelson.
Well, Steinmiller won the battle back to the line. I think it's frozen field cautions, and even then I think Steinmiller was ahead when the yellow came out. Oh, we're going to have to go back and see when that yellow came out, because it looked like to me, as soon as our ticker went yellow, that Steinmiller had maybe an edge out in front of Campbell, but Campbell right now is holding the top spot.
Oh my goodness. We're looking, and it looks like Gerald Campbell, because there hasn't been a transition yet of giving up the lead. Gerald Campbell won this race.
Wow. I mean, we'll go back here in just a moment and see if we can pinpoint the exact moment that the yellow flag came out. We're going to first look at this incident bringing out what is potentially going to be, well, it is going to be our final caution of the night, as another car can be added to the list of flips, and that is the 26 of Tyler Riggs, who got into Harrelson after Harrelson went around off the nose of Guarneri.
And I mean, oh my goodness. Gerald Campbell is given the lead.
All right, we're going to see if we can pinpoint the very moment that
the lights stay on. That means the race is officially going to end under caution. The win goes to Gerald Campbell.
We're going to pinpoint here with the pace car the very moment that the lights come on. All right, we have it here. This is right here when the lights came on. Let's take a look at where Campbell and Steinmiller were at the time the lights came on, and it is that close, folks. I mean, oh, that is so hard to call.
It's so hard.
They're almost at a dead even there.
It's so hard, but at the moment the caution was called, it was Gerald Campbell, as now the white flag and the yellow flag both are waving. And wow, I mean, yes, it was our front two drivers. We talked about it. They needed to make the move almost instantly in the first lap or two before the caution came out. And it just wasn't enough. And honestly, Steinmiller was doing everything right. Get to the outside, try to make that outside line work, because the outside line was the preferred passing lane. But he just wasn't there enough.
I mean, you could maybe shed some light on this. Is it whoever is ahead at the exact moment of caution, or does iRacing implement the scoring loops?
I believe it possibly could be scoring loops when it's called. But I mean, they were close to the scoring loop as well. I mean, when that caution was called for the drivers, so it was close. But coming out of 4, across the line, it's going to be Gerald Campbell getting another win for himself this season. And this 31 machine, if he didn't have his Darlington pit incident, he would be having probably the most wins so far this season.
Absolutely. And I mean, whenever we talk to Gerald Campbell, he says, I'm not worried about points. My 2 goals, to win the race and make it entertaining. Well, I think we can safely say this may be one of the more entertaining finishes we've had here this season. Coming down to the timing of a yellow flag in the closing stages of Bristol is what decides this one.
Yeah, I mean, our fastest 2 cars finishing 1, 2, and then a car that we saw flipping at one moment during this race finishes in 3rd place for Christopher Morris Jr. I mean, that 3 machine is lucky to have that 3rd place finish. And, a lot of other drivers hoping for a better day. But, I mean, that's just short track racing. Even if you're running up front, it's still not safe.
It seems only right, closing in on Halloween, that a skeleton car brings it home 3rd place. I mean, Christopher Morse Jr. literally willed that car from the dead to finish in the podium. And this is going to be interesting, too, because Dallas Myhand, he does finish in 4th, but he finishes behind the 3, and we documented already Jake Houndshell's issue is in the closing stage of this race. We've only got Martinsville and Atlanta before a champion is crowned. Could, as early as tonight's race, we already have the championship decided.
Yeah, it is wild to think. And Christopher Morris Jr. in the 3 has just been consistent all season long. Might not have the fastest car all day, but finds himself at least in the top 5. It seems like week after week, and it seemed almost bound to happen. And Jake Houndshell, he had been doing the same exact thing, but just tonight, the unluckiness of getting flipped over and stuck as a turtle really is what hurt that 83 machine the most here tonight.
We said at the top of the broadcast, the word of the night was going to be survival. These were your survivors, as 9 drivers managed to finish on the lead lap. Jeff Green, with those connection problems, you kind of have to wonder what would have been for him. He finishes 4 laps down, and the rest of these drivers all had issues with Bristol tonight. Tyler Riggs flipped over in the closing stages. Joseph Causey, he ran out of fast repairs. Jake Houndshell, as we mentioned, upside down. And Todd Eldridge also finished out the race, but after involved in at least 2 or 3 incidents, Randy Koken and Eric Schaefer never made it to the checkered flag.
Yeah, I mean, even when we talk to these drivers during the interviews, I think they're all going to say the same thing. This car was hard to handle. It was loose for everyone out there. And it was just probably one of the hardest races physically for these drivers to try to hold on to this car every single corner they were in for 200 laps. I mean, that is mentally fatiguing, physically fatiguing, and overall a great job on everyone's part during this whole entire race.
We're going to be going to Martinsville next week. I got a couple of opinions based on what we saw tonight of what these drivers are going to have to deal with there, but we'll get to that in just a moment. We're going to go down and see if we can get some interviews with some of our top 3 finishers, and I believe we have our pole sitter and 2nd place finisher here tonight, Hank Steinmiller.
Hey,
Hank, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, man, a crazy race here tonight at Bristol. Drivers slipping and sliding around, screaming for grip. Your car looked like maybe one of the more stable ones out there. Seemed like wherever you wanted to put it, it was able to stick. But I'm sure that you also were struggling with some of the aspects of the setup as well as the track. There at the very end, what little more do you think you needed? Do you think if this thing had stayed green, you might have been able to take that top position?
I think I had it already. It was if I wasn't ahead at the time of caution, then I had it set up that I was going to drive away after that. I had tires and he didn't, and I was fastest for about 5 laps there.
Saw you also utilize a strategy in the midway portion of this race, taking on just 2 tires, and you were able to hold everybody off. But was there any difference in the way that the car felt with 2 tires as opposed to 4?
It just didn't want to have drive off. It was lacking that little bit of grip to get off, but it was fast enough to keep that high line. And after about 15 laps, you can't make that low line work to get a pass. So as long as you can protect your top, you can pretty much stay there until the tires even out.
Yeah, I mean, Hank, looking at from our point of view, it looked like that outside line was kind of the more dominant lane to really just be able to get that momentum off the corner. Did you feel like the inside of the outside line was better for you, though?
It was pretty much in the middle. So the fastest with that setup, the fastest way was to kind of get in the middle and let it fade up about a half a car length there, and then power out of it. So I kind of wanted to stay middle, but once you got about 10 or 15 laps in there, that high side was definitely at least the best to protect your position. But I think the fastest way was probably still the middle.
Well, Hank, obviously so close to being able to go coast to coast here tonight at Bristol, pull to win, but you bring it home in a second position and a thriller here tonight at the world's fastest half mile. Great to see you sporting the pink there as well here for the month of October, and we're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
Yeah, thank you guys for the broadcast. Thanks, Chris, for this race. Thanks, Juicebox Podcast, for sponsoring. Go check them out on Spotify, everything. Voice of Morgantown, and Sports Shift Media. Hope to see you guys next week.
That's Hank Steinmiller, second place here tonight. Hopefully he can carry this short track success into Martinsville next week. Congrats on a great run, Hank, and hopefully can talk to you next week.
You too, see ya.
And I think everyone knows the first question I'm going to be asking this guy, but let's get our third place finisher, Christopher Morse Jr.
Run, that's for sure.
Hey, Chris, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
I got you.
Well, I'm telling you what, man, the one question I've got burning in my mind, and I've got to ask it, how does a car that is flipping in turn 4 finish third place here tonight at Bristol?
I've been trying to figure out a way to answer it because I knew you were going to ask, and I don't know, man. I flipped over, somehow landed on all 4 right in front of Jeff, and I hammered down the straightaway. It seemed to have all the RPM, so I just came down and got 4 tires and didn't fix the damage, and it stuck up there. I don't know.
I mean, last week we saw you be able to open up your points gap again after Watkins Glen. Coming in here tonight at Bristol, we know you had the early strategy of staying towards the back, but then we saw you have to utilize a fast repair early on. Did that change how you approached the track, how you decided then maybe to keep your car up towards the front, away from all the mayhem in the midway portion of the pack?
Yeah, it was a mixture of that and the cautions coming out. There was just really no way to get away from people spinning out tonight, unfortunately. So I think we set the record for the season for cautions tonight. But yeah, once I used the fast repair, there was really no point in trying to save tires because we were changing them every 15 laps, and I just figured I had a better chance of not piling into a wreck if I was in the top 5.
Yeah, Chris, this was an overall just a wild race for everyone out here. Were you surprised on how durable these cars were during this race?
No, they're always pretty durable, and they got a good amount of horsepower. So even if you do motor or engine damage, rather, you can still keep up. Like I was down not quite 100 horsepower, but I was still able to make it work up there. And with you're not carrying too much speed when you do get into the big wrecks, so not a lot of damage happens off impact. I thought for sure I was going to be done flipping, though. I'll tell you that right now. I did not think when I landed on all 4 tires I had any shot. I was like, there it goes.
Well, man, you brought a skeleton car home in the podium, and, the big question now is the championship maybe racked up already here with still 2 races remaining? We're going to have to wait and see about that, but, man, what a tremendous comeback for you with a car that, as you said, it almost seemed like it shouldn't be running, but it was. We're going to let you do some shout-outs now, Chris.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Randy Coking for sponsoring the race tonight and putting up the $25 prize. We appreciate that. We're pretty happy. We were able to raise $160 to hand over to you guys tonight for the fundraiser, so that's really cool. Shout out to you guys for putting that on and calling the race. Shout out to the drivers for coming out. Some of them had the pinked out numbers, which was cool to see. And just we wouldn't have the money to hand over you guys if they didn't put it up and race tonight for it. So big shout out to them.
Well, again, we appreciate that, Chris, for you doing that here with G-Force, contributing to the Breast Cancer Awareness Foundation fund that we've got going on. It's a great cause. And again, we really appreciate you not only doing that, but also putting on this event here tonight, supporting breast cancer awareness. And again, congrats on a third place run here tonight. We look forward to what you do in the next two races here, closing out the season.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys. And we're glad we can help. Anything we can do, man. It's for a great cause and whatever spreads awareness.
That's Christopher Morse Jr. He brings us home third place here tonight, and we're now going to go down to Victory Lane, where Gerald Campbell is standing by. Hey, Gerald, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Hey, I got you guys.
Well, man, I quoted you there in the closing stage of this race, where every time we talk to you, you say you've got two goals coming into the race. One is to win, the other one's to make it entertaining. I think you checked both of those boxes here tonight. Man, what a crazy last restart there.
Yeah, I had a teammate that was on that last restart that when they started wrecking, he was like, "Oh, they're wrecking," and he was to my outside, and I'm pretty sure if we came out of that turn, I was going to slam the wall if that caution didn't come out, because I had gassed it in the middle of that turn to make sure I was up ahead enough of him when the caution came out that I was going to take over the lead. But man, that was a hard race. These things were very difficult here, just very unpredictable, but it made for an exciting race, and man, that's all I can ask for, I guess.
One of my favorite shots that we had here of this race was looking back from Hank Steinmiller. You were behind him, Jeff Green was behind you, and going into the corner, all three of you running three entirely different lines. How difficult is it when there's a driver you're trying to pass that's taking away that line you want to run, to be able to kind of figure out, do I have the grip underneath me to be able to run a different line to make this pass?
And see, that was the hard part about it, because as the laps went on, the harder it would be able to get that bottom groove to work. So you had a very few laps to be able to have the tires underneath you to be able to do it. And unfortunately, it just seemed like every single time I get up to the leader, I had just enough laps on the tires that it made it extremely difficult. So it was the leader could be quite a bit slower or have some issues, and you just were stuck behind him. So you were sitting there just trying everything you could to try these different grooves. But the key to today's race was when you would go into the turn, you'd feel the front tires start to chatter, to slide. And the mistake would be for some people that you see spin out is they would get on the gas before that stopped. And that was the key, was if you're going to make a move underneath somebody, are you going to be able to have that sliding stop to be able to get on the gas to be able to clear them or to stay even with them without getting on it too early and just ruining your race by spinning out? But I got to say, I didn't spin out today, so I was quite I was kind of happy about that. Came very close a few times, but yeah, like I said, it was just I knew my only shot there was just to stay out on old tires. And if we had just gotten a couple laps of green and I was able to stay in front of the 63, that I would have been able to hopefully hold them off a little bit once the tires evened out a little bit. But man, it was such a big difference on new tires to old on these first two laps.
Yeah, Gerald, that was one of the major factors that we were also seeing up here. Another thing we were watching was when to utilize your fast repair. You were one of the drivers that were able to save it until the later parts of this race. What made you feel like you needed to use your fast repair there at the end?
I flipped the 3-car over. I'm pretty sure whenever my car became a ramp and I literally started tumbling him down the straightaway, I was like, yeah, well, it's time to use it. So at that point, I hadn't had any need. I got little dings and dents on this car, but that's why I love these cars, is because it's not an aero car. You can get dings and dents in it, and it can still be able to run fast. Heck, I blew a turn and smashed the wall on one turn and got quite a bit of damage on the right front, and I thought it was going to be over with, and the baby just kept on going, caught right back up to the leader and started running him down again. So I was like, obviously that wasn't the time to use it. The time to use it is when you can't get up and going. So yeah, once I started, once I ramped the 3-car down the straightaway, I thought it was time to go ahead and get it repaired, or at least put a front windshield back on it. So keep going at that point.
Well, Gerald, I mean, a heck of a run for you here tonight. You and the 63 looked like it was going to come down between you two regardless. Two of the strongest cars in the field, and it came down really to the timing of that caution with the two of you side by side. But scoring had you ahead of the 63. You pick up the win here tonight. We're going to let you do some shout-outs.
Yeah, thanks to tonight. Obviously, really paid off to have teammates tell me that there was a wreck, to gas it in the middle of that turn to get the win, essentially. But yeah, thanks PRM. Had a couple of teammates in here tonight. They had unfortunately some bad luck, but it's always fun to race with them in this league. Thanks to Flatout, you guys do a fantastic job. Just showcasing me and making me feel good about myself, I guess. So, I love to come out here and drive, and I love to put on a show, like I always say, and I like to have some exciting things for you guys to talk about. So thanks to anyone that stuck around to watch it. I hope you guys want to show up next week and watch the next one. They're going to do their job up in the broadcast and make it seem like it was the best thing in the world, and I'm going to do everything I can to showcase it to being one of the best things in the world, I guess. So other than that, I'll be out there for the next week and see if I can just go out and do it again.
Well, that's Gerald Campbell. He gets it done here tonight at the world's fastest half mile, taking the checkered flag in the Thunder Valley 200. Congrats on another great win here tonight, Gerald, and we look forward to seeing you next week at the Paperclip short track of Martinsville.
Oh, I love Martinsville. I always say this for every single week, but the next track is always the best one. But, I love Martinsville. Well, yeah, you'll definitely see me out there and doing what I love to do out there. So that's going to be a fun one. Can't wait.
Well, that's Gerald Campbell. He celebrates here tonight. Another victory for him, and I believe this does actually put him to the top of the board as well in terms of race winners this season with the number of wins. And I kind of have to question someone's sanity when they are looking forward towards Martinsville and are getting excited about it, because that's one track I do not like at all. And Sam, we saw these guys here tonight at a track that is highly banked. It's shorter, and they were struggling with that. There's not going to be a whole lot of curving for them to be able to utilize next week with Martinsville.
Yeah, but I mean, for Gerald Campbell, he has raced other leagues and has that experience already of what Martinsville feels like. So he's already got that experience over some of these other drivers that this whole entire week is going to be practicing, trying to get used to the course and trying to figure out how to maintain how much horsepower these machines are going to have. So I think that's why he's excited. I think the rest of the field, they're getting a little nervous about coming to Martinsville because, again, still short track racing, and it's going to be a wild race to watch overall.
Yeah, I don't care if someone's driven their whole career at Martinsville. They're still crazy, but Bristol's in the books here tonight. Gerald Campbell with the victory, and next week we're going to be bringing you coverage of the Virginia 200 laps night race at Martinsville Speedway. Going to be the penultimate race of the season before we crown a champion the following week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. 200 laps here tonight. These drivers must be exhausted, but what a crazy race, and it came down to the timing of a caution. Sam, as always, appreciate you joining me in the booth here tonight.
It's always a pleasure there, Seth.
Want to again give a shout out to G-Force Racing for donating the entry fees here tonight to our Breast Cancer Awareness Foundation Fund. If you'd like to be able to donate as well, link is in the video description here of this broadcast, and also a quick shout out as well to tonight's sponsor, Smartway Remodeling. You can check them out on Facebook at Smartway Remodeling and More LLC. That's their Facebook page. But for Samuel Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next week at Martinsville as you've been watching another broadcast here this evening, courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.